One of the most common questions I get here at the IC Network from so many of you is, Jill, when can I have coffee again? I'm desperate for a cup of coffee. Oh, I feel your pain. But your ability to tolerate coffee is dependent entirely on the quality and health of your skin and your bladder wall. You have to remember that coffee is tricky when you've got a damaged bladder. The acids and the caffeines of coffees are a double punch of irritation. The acids will scour an irritated bladder wall, and the caffeine is going to trigger those nerves and give you yet more frequency urgency. And we're trying to calm everything down. So ultimately, in the end, your ability to tolerate coffee is going to be dependent on how well your bladder wall has healed. I have devised a 5-step system that will help you determine if your bladder is ready for coffee. And you always start at step 1. And the rule is, if anything irritates you, you go back a step. So step 1 is water or milk, because water and milk should be entirely bladder friendly unless you're lactose intolerant. Milk, there's a lot of different types of milks now. And as an example, soy milk might be actually a little bit irritating, whereas coconut milk should be fine, although it's pretty high in saturated fat. Dairy milk should be okay too, but water and milk is the mainstay. That should give your bladder no trauma at all, okay? Our next step is going to be chamomile or peppermint herbal tea. Now, why do I say that? Because both chamomile and peppermint have a smooth muscle relaxant property. So they're very good at just calming the bladder and calming the bowel down. So as long as you can tolerate mint, if you have GERD, mint, you might not be able to do mint, but chamomile and or peppermint is kind of the next step. So if you do okay with either the chamomile or the peppermint, your next step is going to be a brown green tea called rooibos. So rooibos is very earthy. It has a lovely, mellow, coffee-like flavor, and yet it's not actually coffee. It's decaffeinated for one, and it's very, very mellow. So rooibos is now my favorite after dinner drink. I used to love chai tea, but chai tea is just a little bit too provocative for me now that I'm older. But last night, for example, I had a cup of our pumpkin spice rooibos tea that we sell in the IC Network store. It's an absolutely great after dinner drink that just kind of tells your body, you know, you're done. It's the last drink of the night. Now, if you do okay with rooibos, your next step is going to be an herbal coffee, a real herbal coffee. There are several brands. My favorite brand is Dandy Blend. Dandy Blend, I make lattes with it, I make frappuccinos with it, low acid, no caffeine, and yet it's really close to that typical coffee flavor. And it's a great go-to for anybody who's got a more sensitive bladder, but they need something close to that coffee, right? So Dandy Blend is a fabulous herbal coffee, but there are others. We've got Ticino, we've got Cafix, we've got Pero. There are quite a few on the market. It's really a matter of your taste. I personally think that Dandy Blend has the best flavor. And then last but not least, if you tolerate the Dandy Blend okay, your next step is going to be a real coffee. But you got to be smart about the type of coffee you get. It has to be a real low acid coffee, preferably decaf to start with. And so coffee acidity is determined in 3 ways. It's determined by the altitude the bean is grown at. The lower the altitude, the lower the acid. It's determined by how the bean is roasted. If it's roasted in a mass market giant hot bin, that's going to produce more acid than if it's done small batches in an air popper. That's much lower in acid. And the last but not least is how you brew it. If you do a hot brew method, you're going to extract more acid out of the bean. If you do a cold brew method, you're going to extract less acid out of that bean. So the most bladder-friendly IC cup of real coffee you can drink is something like Bella Rosa decaf coffee done as a cold brew method. But we've got Bella Rosa, we've got Tyler's No Acid Coffee, and we've got Simpatico. Those are all in the IC Network shop. Ultimately, it's about what flavor you like the most. Now, for those of you who are just addicted to caffeine, you don't want to be, but you are, that presents a difficult challenge because when you try to get off coffee, then you get the dreaded headache. So what's fabulous is Bella Rosa actually makes a half cup low acid coffee. And so I would suggest that rather than going cold turkey off of the coffee, that you switch over to the Bella Rosa half calf low acid coffee and do that for a month or two just to slowly bring down the caffeine levels. Then you can go to their true decaf, because ultimately in the end we still want you off the coffee for like 3 months just to give your bladder an opportunity to heal. And then when you're ready to do coffee again, now we can start with the right coffee that will protect your bladder and it won't irritate your bladder further. So anyway, that's the IC Network Coffee Challenge. So come on over to the IC Network and you can read a lot more about diet and your favorite drinks and all that sort of good stuff. All right. Take-home summary. Coffee is a well-known bladder irritant. 1 cup a day is a common cause of persistent bladder pain and IC flares. Coffee affects the bladder in 2 ways. The acid irritates the bladder wall, while the caffeine irritates the nerves, causing more frequency and urgency. To give your bladder time to heal, we suggest avoiding coffee for at least 3 months. The ICN Coffee Challenge will help you determine if and when your bladder is ready for coffee again. Step 1 is water and milk. Though soy milk might be irritating, try coconut instead. Step 2, chamomile and peppermint herbal tea happen to have nice antispasmodic properties. Step 3, a brown grain herbal tea like rooibos. Step 4, herbal coffees like Dandy Blend. And step 5, real coffees, preferably low acid coffees like Bella Rosa and Tyler's. Try using a cold brew method to reduce yet more acid in your cup. If at any time you flare or experience discomfort, return to the previous step. And you can find the best low acid coffees right in the IC Network shop. Please join us for our live IC support group meetings every Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific time. And this masterclass is made possible by the IC Network members. Would you consider joining us today? We thank you so much for watching.